This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by WBO super featherweight champion of the world, Barry Jones. Barry, it's the Monday after the Saturday before, not quite the morning after, of Tyson Fury's win over Deontay Wilder. First and foremost, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Yeah, I'm still buzzing. Still absolutely buzzing. What a fight.
It certainly was. Let's go straight into it. We've spent enough time talking about this over the last week and a half, or probably longer, considering the delay between the second fight and the third fight. But an absolutely brilliant heavyweight fight on Saturday night.
It was. I thought it would be. I predicted that. I thought it would be like a more competitive fight than the second one, but I didn't think it'd be a great fight. I didn't think it'd be one of the greatest heavyweight fights. And that's what it was. It really was. And, Fury was fantastic. Had to show resolve again. Deontay Wilder showed, a courage that nobody should have. And honestly, he was just tremendous. How he kept just have round after round, taking a hammering, a battering, and then coming back, and looking dangerous at times. Even when he looked like he had nothing left. Like you can see now why he was angry with. Mark really made the right choice of chucking the towel in the second fight. But you can understand now why Wilder was so annoyed by that, because he didn't see him as saving him. He just seen him as robbing his chance of victory. Because we know how tough and brave he is, how strong he is, and how he's always dangerous, even when he has no energy and no real chance to win. He's a fighter to his core. So my first thought after the fight was, first, wow, what a fight. Did I just see that? Then it wasn't what a win for Fury. It was, how tough is Wilder? And so that he could give the best he can give. But it was unbelievable. And it was just something else. And ironically, from a fight we didn't want to see. Who wants to see a third fight? Not me. No, we're going, well, the trilogy's great. If someone said a fourth fight, I wouldn't say no. It's mad, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy. But Fury just. What's most impressive about Tyson Fury is he's boxed one guy 3 times, and he's boxed him 3 different ways. He does 3 different styles for the same guy. To beat him, we all thought he won the first one. So let's just say to beat a guy 3 times, he's boxed 3 different ways. And I'm like, who does that? Who can do that? I don't know. You can change a little bit, but he's coming at 3 different people and beat the same guy. How would you train for that? I was sat with Don Charles, who, of course, people don't know, was the trainer of Derek Chisora, and who boxed Tyson Fury twice. And he said it was very difficult to train my fighter for him because I didn't know which him was going to turn up, which Fury was going to turn up. I was watching him, studying his fights, and he does so many different things. It was hard. So we tried to get an all-round vision of what he might do. And then he came out and boxed a southpaw and stopped us. And I'm not sure if he plans it, Fury himself. I mean, like Mavericks, they're just geniuses and they come up with just ideas. I think everything's off the cuff. He just gets in there. I think he got in there and just thought, I'm going to just lean all over him, push all over him. So he looked like he was taking more shots, which he was. But I thought the idea was, he thought that Wilder come in heavier, so I'm going to make him feel the weight. I'm going to make him use that weight. And I have to use all the energy to take out of him by pushing with that weight, because he's still not big enough and heavy enough for me. But I don't think he thought that until he got in the ring. I don't know this. I'm just guessing, but that's what it seems like with him. That he might have danced around and he don't know till he steps foot in the ring and the bell goes. Then I think his just brain kicks into gear and he goes, I'll try this. And he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Let's continue talking about Deontay Wilder. We'll come on to Tyson Fury in a little while. Obviously, the last 18 months, 20 months since the second fight we've heard, a laundry list of excuses. We've heard him say some pretty outlandish things. But when all's said and done on the trilogy bout, do you feel that fight, even in defeat, and it was certainly a conclusive ending to the trilogy, even in defeat, Deontay Wilder's, his profile, his stature, his standing in the sport is enhanced, if anything?
Yeah, massively, I thought. I always thought that Joshua could beat Wilder, just because Joshua punches right on the line and Wilder's a little bit loose with his shots. And the Joshua of old, not so much the new Joshua, would be a bit more direct right at him. and get inside the reach. That's what I always thought. But now you're thinking, what a fight with them two. Like, him and Dillian White. You always thought it was a decent fight, but now you think, no, Dillian, you think it's a decent fight, but whoever hits the other guy first, they go to sleep. But we know how tough Dillian is, but we didn't think Wilder was tough because we didn't know. We hadn't seen it, so we just presumed that he's not. But now we know if Dillian White hits Wilder and puts him down, there's no way that Wilder's not going to get up and have another go. And possibly, as we've seen already in Saturday night, he can be dangerous and hurt you when his legs are wobbly and he's blowing up his backside and he hasn't got no energy left. He still can do it. He still believes in himself. He has that mental fortitude that while he's still breathing, he's still in the fight. So his future is weird. His future looks rosier than ever now. If he knocked out Fury in 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, it's a great win and better for him, of course. But no more questions were asked or answered from him. You're just saying he can punch. He caught him early like he does. But and then we'd start going about what Tyson Fury did wrong. Well, he should have did better. Well, he should have done better. Then the conversation changes towards him. And then he did well. He knocked him out. But I still think a neat tight Joshua will beat him. I still think a Dillian White, if he get inside, will hit him and hurt him. All those questions will be asked. But now you're going, he might be the second best heavyweight on the planet. I was going, Usyk, I guess now we're saying he's the second best. But, there's a bright future for Wilder. That's for sure. There's so many fights you want to see him in now that would be great to watch.
What did you make of the early rounds? We'd seen Deontay Wilder bulk up massively on the scales. I mean, he looked like a transformer when he was in there. He was massive. He came out in the first round. He was jabbing to the body, throwing the right hand to the chest, which is something that I know that you're always talking about for certainly finding the range for the right hand. What did you make to his start in the fight and ultimately how it kind of shifted after the first round?
Well, I think he did well in the first round. I think they got it wrong, though. I think the punch into the body is a great idea. And the chest, of course, but his legs are too wide. So his legs are wide for power, and also because sort of Wilder sits on that back leg, so he makes you miss. We've done this before. He makes you miss a little bit, leans back, and then fires back with the right hand. So he likes that wide stance because he needs that big movement to get back without leaning over the back foot. But when he was jabbing to the chest, he had that back foot back too far, took a big step with the front foot, and then was stuck. So to throw to that jab to the chest is to come over with the right hand. If your legs are too wide and your opponent moves back or you've moved him back with that jab, then you're too far away to throw the right hand. So the idea was good, but the execution was poor. And that's one of those worry things about training for a specific style in a short space of time. You have to get so many things right. And just saying, jab to the body, that's good. And then we come over the top with the right hand. It's a great idea. But if your fighter's not a natural boxer like a Fury or other fighters, and he's just an athlete, you have to show him step by step. And I don't think they did that. So I think it was, the execution of it was poor. So on first looking, you go, he's jabbing to the body. But actually, when you look at the other parts of his footwork and where he was putting himself in no man's land. That's the truth of it. But then Fury got his range, and but the good thing was Fury didn't dance. I was worried that Fury was, that was going to maybe force Fury back and dancing around, and he was trying to win it that way again, and that would have made it more difficult. I think Fury's found out now and realised after being in with him twice, that you have to sort of stunt the power of Wilder because he likes to jump forward, he likes to lean forward, he likes to all that form momentum when he's throwing the shots. So he didn't give it to him.
How important do you think? I remember kind of feeling at the time that it was a crucial moment in the fight. Fury landed a hard 1-2 at the end of the first round, and after that, I guess leave this up to you. After that, we saw Wilder kind of revert to type. After that, I don't think we saw a jab to the body or a right hand to the body. It was kind of the cliche of everybody has a plan until they get hit.
Yeah. Probably that, but also unless you're massive, when you try and implement new things into a fighter, it has to go into his style. So as I was saying, he probably didn't feel comfortable because when he was throwing that jab to the body because his feet were all wrong. So straight away, that don't feel right. You should do it. So you have more discipline. You're more focused before you start getting hit. And then when you start getting hit or you're missing, then you do revert back to what you're good at or what your natural inclination is. You always will. And that's where, that's why you can't train for a small period of time. I always say, the best of what you do should be good enough to beat the best of what the other guy does. And then you add and take away little tiny things to make a difference. But if the best of what you do can't beat him, then you can't beat him. You can't totally change your style to do, unless you're Tyson Fury, actually. Do you know what I mean? But that's mean he's one of those mavericks that can do so many different things. But that's natural for him to be that way. But most of us have our set styles, and you can just tinker with them. Totally changing yourself around is not going to work. So doing that was never a comfortable situation for Wilder. I feel that's why he probably got away. He didn't really feel comfortable. And once he got tagged, then you do go back to type. And with a bit of hindsight now, we know how tough Wilder is. So when he got hit, he wants to hurt you now, doesn't he? You can see that. That's what it is with him. And rightly so. I think being aggressive for Wilder was always the obvious thing he had to be. He had to be that, and had to make Fury engage with him, and that was true, because he hits harder than Tyson Fury. That's not even a disputable fact. But he hasn't got all the other things that Fury has with him. But still, even when he was losing rounds, he always seemed dangerous. He never seemed like he was going to win the fight to me, except it was round 4. Was possibly when that was a real. I had a feeling that Fury wasn't going to get up, to be honest, but I really did. But apart from that little blip, but apart from that, even when Wilder was doing well, I never really thought that he could win the fight. Even in the early rounds, he didn't. I just always thought that Fury looked like he was just warming into stuff all the time.
Yeah, we saw the first round from Wilder coming out and kind of changed the style. It looked at it certainly was more effective than the style that he'd employed at the start of the second fight. He had some of his successes, and then Fury sort of got on top in the second and then scored the knockdown in the third. And I feel like, certainly from my perspective, I was looking at it and going, okay, well, here we go now. We're back to where we were in that second fight. But of course, the fourth round happened and Wilder unloaded that right-hand cannon and dropped Fury. I mean, what a shot that was. And again, Fury getting up is just another one of those how does he do it moments.
Well, you see, because that right hand puts people to sleep. Let's get it right. No, Fury doesn't deserve any credit for it. Actually, he's just got a gift from God, haven't he? That's just a gift that you've been given, because he got caught flush. I mean, like it's flush, like it caught him on the temple, but like that went right through his guard. Right, so he does. So if it's gone through your guard, like if it's gone clear through your guard, it hasn't broken your guard over. It's gone right through the middle. So you haven't seen that for whatever reason. You haven't seen it. That's puts you to sleep. No way do you get up from that. No way on earth do you get up from that. You're done. Especially with him. Down at Brazil. It was that sort of right hand, wasn't it? It was like you're done. And he gets up, but he didn't look like he had like a bit of a smirk type thing on his face. But it looked like it was going to be one of those things where I'm just 8, 9, 10. Because to be honest, it seemed like he was on it for ages to me. It seemed like forever that he was down there, and I thought, "Oh, he's not going to get up. I can't believe this. I just can't believe it. Like, what a nightmare." But that was it. But apart from that, he did get up, and thank God for him and for all his fans. He got up and regrouped and went out and went every other round and then stopped the guy. That's what he does. And he didn't even take a round off to recover. But that's the thing. He didn't even take a round off just to find your feet, just not take any risks. Just be clever. Make sure you're okay. Just goes out and wins the rest of the fight. What you do? I know Wilder's not the greatest of boxers, and he's not. But he has that intangible thing. I think you can train for. But that innate toughness to always have that desire to want to knock you out. Always have the desire to find a way to win, and that quite often supersedes skill in a tough battle. It does. And it wasn't like a war of attrition on Saturday night, but the pace was relentless. I mean, the pace was relentless for people of my size, but for two giants, so Wilder put on our weights, the first thing you'll say is, what a mistake that was, because he was blown off his backside, he was knackered. But he would have been knackered if he'd come in at 14 stone. That was a hard pace, a real hard pace. And again, it goes down to, and because Fury's a natural boxer, he never loads up with his shots. So you can criticize Fury for he hits you with the open hand. He doesn't close. He slaps a little bit. Where he could have more dynamic. Those punches could be more dynamic, And he probably would have got to stop the earlier, because a few times he caught Wilder hitting back on the ropes and hit his head back. And one solid right hand would have put him to sleep, you would have felt, or put him down. And then Fury would sort of slap a little bit, or arm punch, or hit him not with a closed fist. But he never, because he's always relaxed. Like Usyk, a totally different style, because he's always relaxed, means he can maintain that relentless pace easier than you can, because you're loading up intensity with every shot. You're committing with every punch. You're throwing everything into that shot, which excels loads of energy. And when you miss, which obviously Wilder did plenty, you're running on empty. But I thought, even though he was blowing very early on, Wilder, he tried to keep with the pace. I thought his fitness was fantastic. And against another guy, he outworks him and outdoes him, I think. But unfortunately, he came up against the best heavyweight we've seen since maybe Lennox Lewis, and that was the problem he had.
So where does this fight sit, Barry? I mean, you're somebody who's watched an awful lot of boxing over a long period of time. The most obvious kind of recent heavyweight fight that people talk about is Joshua Klitschko. Then you've got Bo Holyfield. You go back further, you've got Foreman Lyle. Where does this fight, Fury Wilder 3, sit among the great heavyweight fights in your opinion?
Oh, mate, without putting an actual number on it, because I couldn't, it's up there with them. It has to be. So you have to wait for it to settle down a little bit as well, because it was a great fight. But also the euphoria for them. But as a fan, which we all are, forget about what we do for a living. As a fan, the euphoria is massive for you. You're like, oh, it's the best fight I've ever seen. And then you'll settle down a little bit. And so I like to give myself a couple of weeks to digest it all and see where I really think it was. But without doubt, guaranteed. Someone like Frank Warren said, this is the best heavyweight fight I've ever seen live. Now, he promotes the guy, so he'll say that anyway, possibly. But I can't make him wrong, maybe. It possibly is. It was brilliant. The pace set, the drama involved, some of the skill, not always about the skill, that fight don't feel, but the skill, the drama, what it meant as well at the highest level, and just the pace that was set means it was one of the best. It ranks up there with them all. It won't be the very best heavyweight fight there's ever been, I don't know, but it was one of the very best, without doubt. You have to say that. And he is one of a generation type of fighter in everything about Tyson Fury. Are we on Tyson Fury now? Can we talk about Tyson Fury?
Talk about whatever you want.
I said the other day, there was a time when Tyson Fury couldn't stop putting his foot in his mouth. I mean, literally, like every time he opened his mouth, he said something horrid and horrible. And everyone, if they didn't hate him, wanted to see him lose. And that's just the truth. Early in his career, even if you liked his style of boxing, which, by the way, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't fan-friendly. His style of boxing was not fan-friendly. He was clever, but his superpower as a boxer was to negate what you can do and then slowly pick you apart or outpoint you. That's how he did it. And there was a few fights where he had to dig in a little bit early in his career because he made mistakes and got hurt. And then he'd have to fight his way out of trouble, which he knew he could do that. But most of the time, like in Klitschko fight, which wasn't a great fight, it was a great win for Fury. That win was better than Joshua's win over Klitschko. But the performance was nowhere near as exciting or entertaining or memorable as the Joshua Klitschko fight. Because he just did what he had to do to win. Methodically, slowly, just did enough. He just made Klitschko look slow and old. He did that. And that's brilliant how he did it. But you don't want to watch those every week. And generic boxing fans wouldn't have enjoyed it at all. They would say, this is shit. So what he was saying, how he was boxing, everything about him was not fan-friendly. And then he had a breakdown, went away, and that was him done. And came back. This has been spoken about forever, so I'm not going to go into all that. But he came back and he said everything right. No, he can't. No, whatever he says out of his mouth, except for building up to a fight where he'll say some silly things about his opponent. But that's just fighters. That's how they do it. But everything else is gold. Whatever he says, you just can't disagree with him. If take away the early part of his career, just take away from after he came back after the Klitschko win, and he's like the saint of boxing. He is, isn't he? Like, it's inspired people with mental health and And even with Wilder now, the other night, Wilder sort of snubbed him, and he said, I know he snubbed me, but good luck to him and all the rest of it. Even swallowed down a bit of dignity. Everything about him and the way he fights now is all of a sudden exciting. Fights people below his level and draws them into the fight, and lets it be entertaining, or risks everything to be great and gets dropped and gets back up. How can you not say he's like the best fighter we've seen for the last, heavyweight for the last 20, 30 years? He is. Like, he really is. And now, and like I said to you off air, like ESPN had a steal with that $80 million contract. And we all thought that was like, Fury's at the lottery. You better go, like, all you got to do is keep his mouth shut now, get over the line with that contract, and then sail into the sunset. Now you're thinking, you got to go back to the table now and say to ESPN, I think you got me a bit cheap, mate. Because he is a superstar. He's transcended the sport, I think, and I think that last night will have done it for him, will have transcended the sport. And and he is, like, if he's not a Sir or an MBE or something now, then I don't know what's going on. I don't, because you can always go back to people's past, but you've got to judge people on they are today. Now, I don't know Tyson Fury personally. He might be a horrid man. He might be the loveliest man on the planet. But all you can do is what you see in the public persona. And what he's been like outside the ring as well as inside the ring has been fantastic. It really has. It really has. We all got pasts. And the fact, if you can get over especially boxing, more than most sports where they come from real bad pasts and done really bad things and turned their life around, isn't that what it's all about? Isn't that a good thing? You're sorry for your past. There's some things that are unforgivable. I understand some people do things that can be forgiven. I understand that. But he hasn't done that. He's changed his life from being a bit of an asshole to being like a man who, well, I'll put it this way, and I'll be honest now, because I am. I've worked with him on Box Nation. He sat ringside and covered some fights as a special co-commentator. And I didn't speak to him. He's a giant of a man. I'm not going to argue with him. He'd swallow me whole. But like, I had no interest because I knew he was a good fighter before he won the world title. I knew he was good, talented, but I didn't really like the things I'd seen about him and what he was saying about other people and all the stuff he was doing trying to sell himself didn't adhere to my personality. So I had no time for him. No, well, yeah, you're a great fighter, but that means nothing to me. No, that means nothing. Now, like, if I said this to you now, I'd be like, oh, listen, mate, I'd be like that. Oh, you're brilliant. What a guy. I'd be kissing his backside. That's what, and I'm not that sort of person. I'd have to just say, I got all the respect in the world for you. So, now he's got the Barry Jones approval, a seal of approval. Like, he can retire now, his life's complete. But it is, don't it? I think it is. It's not, I think with him now, when you get to a certain level, it's not just about what you do in the ring. It's more than that. He's not a Muhammad Ali, because his was a different thing altogether. You'll never get an athlete who's done what he done. But it is. It's more what you do. It's more not just what you do in the ring. It's what you do outside. Conduct yourself. You're an inspiration for people. Like Joshua's speech after the Klitschko fight was better than the fight. I thought he was fantastic. Like, even I wanted to go down the gym and train on the Sunday morning after that fight. Every young kid, especially in the London area and Watford area and all that, would want to go down the gym and start training and be the next Joshua. And that's what it was like with Fury. That's what it was like Saturday night. So I didn't want to go training because I'm way too old now, but I couldn't sleep. I was buzzing. And I watched it from back in London. It's just like, so it's, all these young kids now want to be, and not just traveller kids. He's gone past that, he's a traveller, he's probably what he is, but he's not just inspiring traveller communities now, he's inspiring the whole generation, like Anthony Joshua is and was and still is. That's what they're doing. So, it means so much more, and it needs an acknowledgement, more than just the world title belts. So Sir Tyson Fury, which you would never have said in a million years, like 5 or 6 years ago. You didn't want to say his name, did you? Almost. Now it's all of a sudden it's like he's a god.
Sir Tyson Fury, member of the Barry Empire.
Barry Empire, like, yeah, fair enough. Listen, I know this. See, again though, I might settle down in a week because I'm still buzzing from it. It's Monday, I'm still buzzing from it, and you might have interviewed me next week. I might have gone, it was a brilliant fight, but let's not get carried away. But I'm still in that mode now. Especially because my missus is away as well. So all I got is boxing. So I'm like, oh, yes.
I think it's right. Something that was brought up on the Boxing Social Live show, which we of course missed you this week. It was
sorry, mate.
We'll have you back hopefully soon. I did get a lot of messages asking where you were, but I'm pretty sure they're your burner accounts. But anyway, it's something that was mentioned. You know, Anthony Joshua has been a fantastic role model, ambassador for British boxing. What he's done in UK with regards to selling out stadiums and stuff cannot be ignored. But if you look at Tyson Fury, what he's done on the world stage, gone out into America. You know, he had the first Wilder fight where he rose from the dead. He's done the whole Apollo Creed coming out in the Living in America shorts, and now what he's done at the weekend, the singing in the press conferences. And yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's something that potentially, you know, should be left for the Sunday show for me, but I'm of course still buzzing as you were. And I do feel like it's time now that he gets that recognition. It was a wonderful performance. When you take the whole story into account and where he's come from and what he's done, it's sort of like a zero to hero to zero to hero story. It's up and down, and that's what, again, in this funny old sport of boxing, when you have let's say its fair share of colourful characters, you know, this is the sport where stories like that are brought to the world. So yeah, I completely agree. Moving on. Where next for Tyson Fury? Of course, we've seen Dillian Whyte kind of waiting in order. There's Alexander Usyk for a potential undisputed fight, but he's locked into his rematch with Anthony Joshua. What would you like to see next for Tyson Fury?
Dillian Whyte. I think it's a great fight. I do. The only thing is, where does it go? Where does it go? Because I'm sure the US audience love him now, Fury. So I think he's there. That's his base now, and Dillian Whyte sells tickets and he does well on pay-per-view over in the UK, of course. But also Dillian Whyte's waited his shot and he's been given the opportunity. And please, let's stick to let's have some sort of structure to our rules of boxing are employed and implemented. Sorry, so that I think that should be what it happens. It should be him next, and it's a good domestic scrap. And I don't see how Dillian Whyte can beat him, to be honest. But Fury gives you opportunities, but you have to nail him to the canvas. I don't know if that can work. But anyway, I don't see anyone beating Tyson Fury now, so we can almost say it's irrelevant who he fights. Who cares? You know, we're for Canelo will be at heavyweight now in 6 months' time. We can fight Canelo. But who beats him? Usyk? No, that's not going to happen now. So, like the end of next year, if we're lucky, if we're lucky, that happens at all. Even if Joshua beats Usyk, I don't fancy Joshua against him. I just don't see how anyone can beat him. But I think so. We're looking for fun fights, aren't we? Fun fights. So him and Dillian Whyte. See where Joe Joyce what happens to him now in the next sort of 6 to 8 months, a year. That would be a fun fight if Joyce can beat some more quality opposition and show he's ready. And then who knows? And then we don't know. You don't know. In a year's time, Jared Anderson might be the next one. He looked really good, and he doesn't look like he's anywhere near that yet. But 12 months, 18 months on the landscape of boxing, it can change dramatically. And we've seen that. People go from nowhere to being the best fighter on the planet in shorter time. So, a couple of good wins, and all of a sudden you're world class. So, we'll see. But yeah, but right now, I think Dillian Whyte is not only a fun fight, it's also the fight that Dillian deserves. And then, and also the thing with Fury is about what makes sense financially. And I think his deal might be up with ESPN now.
I think we were discussing this. I can't remember whether that was the last fight or he's still got one fight. I can't remember. But I think you're right. I know what you're getting at there. I think if he has got one fight left with ESPN, that fight would have to be in America at prime time pay-per-view slot. But
I think he's in America anyway, because I don't see where, who's going to offer him big enough money.
You would think ESPN or one of the American broadcasters would be desperate to keep him out there. Of course, he can still fight in the UK and have a TV deal in America, but still, you would think that they would want everything slanted towards the biggest audience, which is America.
Well, of course, because if they're paying all that money, which, by the way, it would be bigger than the 80 million now, if that's what it was, it would have to be, because he's a bigger draw now than he was when he first got that. Then, it's got to be their prime time, which is early hours of the morning over here. And I think he will sell out the stadium, but he hasn't yet. Then we just not forget that. Joshua sells out stadiums and does well on pay-per-view, but he's not a huge draw in the States, I don't think, if I'm right about that. Yeah. And because he hasn't needed to go out there, and that's fair enough. And Fury, it's the other way around. He's a big draw in America. I I'm pretty sure he is now, definitely. But he doesn't sell stadiums because you don't need to in America, because you go to a casino in Vegas and they pay you get more money on the revenue on the gate there than you would for 80,000 in Wembley, which is bizarre, but that's what money does. But, so it'd be interesting where he fights next, because him and Dillian White would be a stadium fight in the UK. But will it be a stadium fight at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning? If it's 2 o'clock, it'd have to be 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. If the ESPN are paying silly money for Fury, who says ESPN? It might be Showtime might come in. DAZN might come in.
I don't think it'd be short of suitors.
It's a big thing now. Who's saying that we don't know what's going on with, like, BT have been great for him, and he's been great for BT, I'm sure. And I don't know what their deal is with, and then I don't know the business. Of course I don't. So I'm just like a fan. I'm just guessing. But what if his deal's up with BT? Where does he go then? No, I don't think DAZN would want to spend any. They can't keep just throwing money against the wall all the time, can they? But will Sky want to go in for him? Or, because they need another big pay-per-view star, and or will BT at the money? Will DAZN buy BT? All these little rumors we hear constantly. And then if DAZN buy BT, will he go to DAZN in America as well? But then that cuts their market down from there, because they're not a big enough real platform over there. You wouldn't have thought just yet for people to follow him. That's the thing in America. He's a big name in America, but I don't think people would follow him, to a smaller station. ESPN's the biggest platform, biggest sports channel in the world. I think I'm pretty sure that's right, and it's huge in the States. So he's on a big platform, getting views on him, and doing well with it. So yeah, I don't know where I've gone with this. I'm just babbling on. I'm still half asleep, mates, because I haven't had proper sleep patterns, because I just couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep Sunday, really, till the night. So I was up for over 24. I know you were up for 36 hours, and you beat me by about 8 hours. You beat me, but I'm absolutely shattered. And that's what a great fight does for you. And this was a one time. I don't get jealous about not going to live fights. Sometimes I think, I wish I was there, but I don't get jealous. And all week I've been like, I wish I was there, because I've seen all these videos on. I hate Instagram and all that, and Twitter, because you get to see stuff. And I would have been there before, and I think all the people I was working with were out there, and I go, oh, okay, that's a shame, but never mind. But then after Saturday, I was so jealous and envious that all the people I'd worked with, like John Warren and Bunsey and Richie Wood, all nice people, I couldn't stand them. I hate them. So I was envious, and all these people that were putting things up on, like Andy Clark was out there with TalkSport. I'm like, was he out there? I can't stand that Andy Clark. And all the people I really like, I love them all, don't you? I think the world of them all. I'm like, oh, look at them showing off.
I woke up this morning to a picture. So I said to Andy, go get yourself something nice to eat after the fight. Go to a nice restaurant, blah blah blah, and expense it. And
I don't.
Yeah, I don't need to come back. There he goes. But
yeah, your stories are boring.
Yeah, I know the phones are sick of it. But yeah, I said to Andy, go get yourself like a nice meal, go to a restaurant, like we'll pick up the tab and blah blah blah. So I woke up this morning and he sent me like some picture of like a beautiful steak and blah blah that he'd paid $100 for, and I was just looking at it going, I hate Andy. Into like a fight like that, and now he's gone out dining across Las Vegas. But no, I completely sympathize with that thought process. Right, so you've just said that you don't feel that anybody beats Tyson Fury. Of course, the bout with Alexander Usyk for the undisputed title is still kind of lingering in the background. Admittedly, they've both got a fight that they're going to have to take in between time. Two questions really. How do you feel that fight goes, and what does that add to Tyson Fury's legacy if he gets that fight and he wins that fight against Alexander Usyk, becomes undisputed?
I sort of feel like his legacy's already done now, to be honest. But if you want to be critical, he's based his legacy off two fighters, really. Beating Klitschko in Germany, and the trilogy with Wilder. That's where he's richly made his name. So he needs another big win, another big name. And that's where they thought the Joshua fight would come in. So Usyk would be a fantastic win. I'm going to say the same thing as I always said, I was saying before. Ultimately, I just think he's too big for Usyk. Not too clever, but clever enough to not get fooled into the traps that Usyk sets you. Again, I was always worried about how Usyk was going to cope with, because I go through it all again, as a cruiserweight, that physical presence he had put you under pressure. made you feel it. And I thought, can you do that with a bigger guy? He did it with Joshua. But then Joshua looked a bit tame to me. But then was that Usyk doing that to him? And I just don't feel how we can intimidate Tyson Fury in or out of the ring. I just don't see it that way. I just can't see how he can. And I think he'd struggle. Over 12 rounds, I think Usyk would have success. Of course he would, because he's brilliant. But over 12 rounds, I can't see how he can beat Fury. Because Fury can box so many different ways. And I don't think Usyk is brilliant. But he boxes the same sort of way every time. He's just so good at it. And there's little variants to how he does it. But his style is pretty much his style. I know he can dance around when he has to. But Fury can, as we've already said before, can do so many different things. And he might not be as good as Usyk on doing certain things. Usyk probably do what they both do the same better. If Usyk can do it, he can probably do it better than Fury. But there's some things he can do that Fury can do. Like, there's nothing that Fury can do. That's pretty much. And neither one's a massive puncher, but they both can make you feel it. But Fury still, he's a 19-stone man who moves around like a 12-stone guy. Who as we've shown now, he has the fitness of a smaller guy. Carrying that weight doesn't affect him. No, it doesn't affect Usyk, but Usyk, again, I've never seen him not fight at his own pace, ever. And that's what Joshua needed to do to him, to see if he can. Because he might be able to do it and be brilliant at it, but we haven't seen that. Bray just tried it. He came the closest probably to it, trying to making him fight at a different pace. But even then, it wasn't really anything but what Usyk was comfortable with. And yeah, that's what you have to do. So I fancy Fury still, because the size alone. That's all.
Okay, Barry, right. Before I let you go, there was, of course, some boxing on these shores as well, Saturday night, which I've completely forgotten all about. No disrespect. But let's just quickly touch upon Liam Smith's win over Anthony Fowler before we finish up. What did you make of the fight? Of course, a very good stoppage win for Liam Smith.
Yeah, well, yeah, but one you get no credit for on the world team, because it was a fight for Liam Smith where, unless he got paid good money for it, which I'm sure he did, it was a no-win situation for him, because he's meant to beat Anthony Fowler. Now, Anthony Fowler's a good kid up and coming. I know he's not the youngest, but he's young enough, and it was a step up for him, and the right sort of step up. Well, what are you going to do? We'll hang around forever? You get offered to fight Liam Smith, I'll put you right in the world rating straight away. I'll put you right up there. It was a risk worth taking, I felt, for Fowler, but I still never thought he could win. And he had a bit of success because he has those massive long arms and he's big for the weight and he can punch. But people just, there was always down to if Liam Smith was shot. Everyone thought he was shot. And I didn't see that. I never seen how he never looked like he was shot. Even in the last fight against Kurbanov, which I thought he won, clear enough. But it was a tough fight, but clear enough. And Smith has tough fights. That's how he fights. He's just one of those weirdos, Liam Smith, that tough fights don't affect him. So, I mean, tough fights, they take years off some people. Like me, if I have a tough fight, that's it. Like I'm 5 years older the next morning when I wake up the next day. He has a tough fight and it's just nothing. He played football. I think he plays at a real decent level.
Oh, yeah.
He's playing football the next day. Because that wasn't a walk in the park for him. Of course, he got cut early in the first round and he had to take a few good shots off Fowler, who boxed really well. But ultimately, the pressure was always going to tell. And that's what it was. He does that, what I say all the time. He makes you fight at a relentless pace, Smith. And you can't really hurt him. When you hit him, he can fire back. And a little slip of the head when he dips inside makes room for that uppercut. And that hook was always going to be what was going to get the job done for him. The only thing I feel bad for is that should have been this weekend, really, because that would have got so much press and so much praise and publicity. But everything that happened on Saturday night has been overshadowed by the Vegas fight. To be fair, it really has. Yeah, but it was a good win for Smith, and he sort of like, listen, a local derby is always a good thing. But Fowler doesn't lose. I'm on like 2%.
That's right.
Fowler doesn't lose either because he had a good go. I mean, he loses and he got hurt, and I understand that. But I mean, if he's okay and he can regroup, he would have learned a lot of that fight. That's even against a world-class fighter who's extremely tough man. So he would have learned a bit about pacing yourself and stuff like that. So I think it was a good fight for him. It didn't come off. It was a test worth taking. And Liam Smith, it was a risk for him to take the fight. But a fight that he thought and I thought as well, that really was like a smash and grab for him financially.
Okay, well, Barry Jones, as always, real pleasure catching up with you. I would have loved it if we'd have been out there in Las Vegas, but unfortunately not. Maybe for Fury Wilder 4 in 2023. Yes. Who knows? You never know in this old game. But thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social, and I'm sure I'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers, Rob. Thanks, mate.